Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is June 17, 2026, and Real Madrid have contacted UEFA, formally asking them to reopen a disciplinary case into Barcelona. Also, we're going to talk about the new left back that Barcelona are currently negotiating for. And finally, we're also going to talk about the last offer, one final offer that Barcelona are currently preparing for Julian Alvarez. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. I hope you're still enjoying this 2026 World Cup. We had some exciting matches today, including Colombia's victory over Uzbekistan 3-1, and then another disappointing opening match by another big team, Portugal, drawing against the Democratic Republic of Congo. And of course, I think the best match of the day, England versus Croatia. England winning 4-2. 4-2. That was confusing. 4-2. Lots of exciting matches. And of course, with that, it concludes the first round of matches in the group stages. Tomorrow, we start with round two. Lots of groups, by the way, where all teams are tied with 1 point each. So it's getting pretty exciting. Anyways, let's talk about Barcelona because, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a bombshell of a news because Florentino Perez and Real Madrid have contacted UEFA. They have formally requested from UEFA that they reopen a disciplinary case against Barcelona for that Negreira case. And of course, this is yet another distraction tactic. Now, let's recap everything that Florentino Perez and Real Madrid have been doing, or more specifically, Florentino Perez, in order to distract away from his disastrous presidency. Because, of course, on I think it was May 12th, if I'm not mistaken, after ending a second season trophyless, having spent over 400 million euros on signings, a club that lacks liquidity, a club that's in 1.5 billion euro in debt, whose stadium is an absolute mess. Florentino Perez held a meeting with his board of directors, and right after that, he held a press conference where the Socis wanted answers. Real Madrid Socis, they wanted answers. Hey, what's going on with the stadium? Why is the club in so much debt? Why is the club lacking liquidity? Why is the sporting project an absolute disaster? And what did Florentino Perez do? Instead of giving them answers, instead of assuming responsibility for his disastrous presidency, he instead blamed everything on Negreira, said that Spanish referees are getting rich from all the briberies that Barcelona are giving them. And of course, he did announce re-election. Now, those statements, of course, have resulted in 3 lawsuits, 2 by the referees and then 1 by Barcelona. But nonetheless, that hasn't stopped Florentino Perez because once elections began, he promised as part of his campaign to continue going after Barcelona for the Negreira case. He promised that he was going to present to UEFA a dossier of 500 pages that conclusively conclude that Barcelona bribed referees. Now, that dossier has been sent. UEFA didn't do anything. And now Real Madrid, or Florentino Perez, has escalated even further by formally asking UEFA to reopen disciplinary actions against Barcelona, again, as part of this distraction tactic that Florentino Perez is implementing, because that's really what it is. It's Florentino Perez trying to distract Madridistas away from his disastrous presidency. Now, let's read the statement first of Real Madrid that they publish on their website, and then I tell you why this is clearly nothing more than smokescreen and distraction. But let's look at the statement, because this was an excerpt of the statement that was posted on Real Madrid's page. But it says, in this context, Real Madrid has urged the immediate resumption of the disciplinary proceedings initiated by UEFA, considering it unacceptable that this situation has been prolonged over time, since its persistence seriously compromises the credibility of football, its institutions, and its leaders, and therefore demands a firm response, exemplary and immediate in the field of sport, regardless of the future of the ongoing legal proceedings. Now, let me tell you why this is clearly nothing more than a distraction tactic, because, of course, here we're not talking about violations of UEFA rules in the Champions League or financial fair play, European UEFA financial fair play rule. Here we're talking about an allegation that Barcelona bribed Spanish referees to influence Spanish competitions. Therefore, UEFA is not the right forum to complain, right? Where you have to go? Well, you got to go to La Liga. You got to go to the Royal Spanish Football Federation. You got to go to the CTA, the Technical Committee Referees. Those are the right forums that you go to complain that, hey, Barcelona is bribing referees and they are influencing the local competition. Those are the bodies that would be able to do something about it, not UEFA. Now, let's assume that UEFA is the correct forum. Even if UEFA was, as we discussed before, the statute of limitation on these allegations have already passed, right? UEFA has up to 3 years to punish a club for serious infringements. Well, the Negreira case ended in 2018, or the payments to Negreira ended in 2018. That's more than 3 years. So not only is UEFA not the right forum, even if they were, there's nothing they could do about it because more than 3 years have passed. Finally, who would be the right forum right now? Because the same rule applies in La Liga. La Liga also cannot punish Barcelona because it's been more than 3 years. The only right forum right now is the courts, the judicial courts in Spain. They're the only ones who can punish Barcelona, right? And there's an ongoing investigation being overseen by these courts. This investigation has been going on for more than 3 years. Not a single shred of evidence has been found. But Florentino Perez claims that he has the evidence that conclusively shows that Barcelona influenced referees. Well, Mr. Perez, the only forum that can do something about this is the courts. They haven't been able to find anything. So why not present your evidence to them? After all, they're the only ones who can punish Barca. So if you have evidence, take it to the court. They'll be able to do something about it. But he's not doing that. He's going to UEFA. Not the right forum, and even if it was, there's nothing they could do. Why? Because we all know the same thing that Florentino Perez knows, that there's absolutely nothing in that dossier. There's no evidence of Barcelona bribing referees. There's no evidence of Barcelona influencing the competition. This is nothing more than another tactic by Florentino Perez to distract Madridistas away from the disastrous presidency he has had and he will continue to have. And the crazy thing is that Madridistas are so dumb that they've fallen for it. You know, it's like they're like, wait a minute. You spent 120 on Mbappe, 200 million on 5 signings, now another 100 million on another 5 signings to replace those 5 signings. Our stadium is a mess. We owe a lot of money. What's going on? And there comes Florentino. Hey, guys, over here. Negreira. 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 That's how retarded they are. But anyways, Barcelona have responded. They have responded in a conclusive way to this demented man trying to distract his retarded followers away from his disaster. And this is what Barcelona have said. And I'll read the statement directly from Barcelona's website. The FC Barcelona president, Rafael Yuste, today has addressed a formal letter to the presidents of La Liga, Javier Tebas, the Spanish Football Federation, Rafael Luzan, and of the Referees Technical Committee, the CTA, Francisco Soto, in relation to statements made by the president of Real Madrid, Florentino Perez, in various public appearances on May 12th and May 13th. FC Barcelona considers that these comments, aside from being untrue, are a grave attack on the honor and image of the league competition in the first division and also on the refereeing community as a whole, and that they damage the reputation and credibility of professional football in Spain. The club urges the joint organizers of the competition and the referees to defend the reputation of their respective organizations, as the club has done recently with its request for conciliation. and also asks the bodies in question that, in the area of their respective powers, they adopt urgent and requisite coordinated legal measures against Mr. Perez to defend the honor, integrity, and prestige of the institutions that they represent and the competitions which they organize. So that is Barcelona's response, ladies and gentlemen. They have written to La Liga, the Royal Spanish Football Federation, and the CTA requesting that they punish Florentino Perez and defend the honor of the competition and referees, because what Florentino Perez doesn't realize, what a lot of these idiot Madridistas don't realize, is that when you are saying that Barca bribe referees, you're not just attacking Barca. You're attacking the league. You're attacking the refs themselves. You're saying that this league is up for sale. These refs are up for sale, because the accusation is not that Barcelona put a gun to the head of these referees and forced them to manipulate the competition, right? In that case, they would be innocent. They would be victims. No, they're saying that these refs also accepted the money. So you're putting in doubt the whole competition, the integrity of the whole competition, and the integrity of the refs. Not to mention, this is how stupid these people are, they're also putting into question the integrity of the trophies that they won themselves, right? Because if you're saying La Liga is up for sale, that whoever wins La Liga that season is the person that paid the highest, that means that the years that Madrid won, it's because they paid the highest price, or they made the highest bid. The years that Atletico won it, it's because they paid the highest bid, or they made the highest bid. Same thing with Barca, right? This is how retarded these Madridistas are. By saying that, they're also putting in doubt their own trophies. But anyways, so Barcelona asking La Liga, the Royal Spanish Football Federation, the CTA, to put a stop to this. And I hope they do, because we've heard endless statements by Tebas about how Real Madrid keeps doing this and they need to stop with the Real Madrid TV and blah, blah, blah. Well, do something about it, bro. If you really want them to stop, if you want Real Madrid to stop discrediting La Liga and the referees and the competition itself, do something about it. Find them. They do it again, find them again. They do it again, find them, and keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And eventually they're going to stop, because eventually it's going to get pretty expensive for them. But anyways, let's hope La Liga, the Royal Spanish Football Federation, the CTA respond, because enough is enough. I understand that Perez is a demented old man. He's losing his mind. But that doesn't give him an excuse to go around making accusations. We need to do something about it. Anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news, because this one is incredibly important. Maybe just as important as the one we just discussed, but we do have to talk about Rafinha, because yesterday, Globe Sport, a big media outlet in Brazil, whose journalists are traveling with the Brazilian team right now in the World Cup, broke a story that made all of us Barcelona fans worry, saying that Al Hilal had called up Rafinha because they want to make him a big offer. They want to offer him 185 million euros salary over 4 seasons. Well, 185 divided by 4 seasons, not that he would get 185 per season. That would be insane. And that Rafinha had told them that he's currently focused on the World Cup and that he wants to discuss it later, which means he was kind of open to hearing what they have to offer. Well, today, Victor Rodriguez, he's the press coordinator for Rafinha, has come out and said that those rumors are completely unfounded, that there are no negotiations underway, and that there are no discussions expected in the future. In other words, that Rafinha wants to remain at Barcelona. Now, this, of course, is good news, because, like I said, losing Rafinha would be, I think, a huge blow, given how important he is on and off the field and as a leader, of course. But, of course, my question to you is, do you think that what Victor Rodriguez is true, that Rafinha is looking to stay at Barca and that there's no truth to these rumors? Or do you think this is just, the press coordinator just saying, nah, it's all not true, but in reality, there is intention to hear what the offer is once the World Cup is over? Let me know down below. I think that Rafinha will stay. He's always shown commitment to Barca. I mean, Saudi Arabia has been knocking on his door for a very long time, so I don't see why he would want to leave now. Maybe later when he's done with Barca, his contract is till 2028. Maybe then, once that contract expires, he'll go to Saudi. But right now, I still see him hungry and wanting to win the Champions League with Barca and, of course, with Hansi Flick, who, as Rafinha has described him, the man who has changed his life. Anyways, let's move on to the next bit of news because Barcelona currently negotiating for a new signing, a left back whose name is Jorge Salinas. Now, if you don't know who Jorge Salinas is, he's 19 years old. He's a left back who came up through the Racing de Santander Academy. Last season, he had a standout performance in second division. He featured 33 matches for Racing de Santander. Out of those 33 matches, he started in 30 of them, during which he provided 7 assists, and he helped the promotion of Racing de Santander to first division. If you don't know by now, Racing de Santander will play in La Liga next season, and part of that is thanks to this youngster, Jorge Salinas, who again had a standout performance during last season and has become one of the most sought out after defenders in Spain, given his attacking instincts, his ability to possess the ball or to dribble the ball, his versatility, and even his capacity to play as a center back. So in other words, he's a left back, the kind of left backs that Barcelona look for, right? Someone who not can only defend, but they can push forward with the ball at their feet. They can combine with their teammates, send crosses, score, assist, you name it. This guy can do it. And therefore, Barcelona currently negotiating with Racing de Santander for the signing of Jorge Salinas, despite being several clubs, other clubs interested in him, including Atletico de Madrid. But they're saying that Barcelona currently are leading the race to sign Jorge Salinas. Now, Barcelona are currently trying to figure out different ways how they can sign Jorge Salinas. They're negotiating with Racing because he does have a 16 million euro release clause, which Barcelona are not too in favor of paying the full release clause up front. So instead, they're negotiating different ways to how to pay for the signing. For example, there's discussion about maybe including an academy player in exchange for Jorge Salinas. There's also a possibility of maybe including of Racing de Santander maintaining a percentage of any future sales as part of this deal. And of course, there's also talks about signing Jorge Salinas and then loaning him back to Racing de Santander so he can play next season with Racing. That way he can continue growing and developing, and that way they don't lose a player right away. Instead, they can use him for this first season that they're going to be back in first division. So Barcelona is still in talks with Racing. They're still negotiating. Again, Barcelona leading the race, so hopefully we can have this signing done pretty soon. They're saying that this agreement could be closed by the end of this month. So, of course, we'll see. And, of course, I will be here to tell you all about it. Now, the last bit of news we got to talk about is the final offer, one last offer that Barcelona are currently preparing for Julian Alvarez. Yes, you heard that right. Barcelona preparing one last offer for Julian, who, of course, is Barcelona's number one option to reinforce that center forward position. Now that Lewandowski is gone, Barcelona made a 90 million euro fixed plus 10 million euro invariable offer to Atletico Madrid, which has gone unanswered. And now Barcelona preparing one last offer, which would be 135 million euros fixed with variables that would make the deal a total of 150 million euros, which is what Atletico Madrid are asking for, which, of course, in my opinion, I think it's total insanity. Don't get me wrong. I like Julian. I think he's an excellent player. I think any club in the world would be lucky to have him. I think he would help Barcelona a lot. But 150 million euros is a lot of freaking money, not to mention our financial situation. If Barcelona were financially healthy, if this was 10 years ago, I would still say, this is a lot of money, but okay, fine. We can afford it. Go for it. But right now, I think it's not only too much money, but I think we're really risking here. We're really gambling a lot because given our financial situation, because if this signing goes bad, we're screwed. Financially speaking, we're screwed. So let's hope that if this does go through, that it ends up being the right call. I mean, maybe I'm just not a visionary. Maybe Barcelona, since they're willing to offer that much money, maybe they see something that I don't see. Maybe they think, yes, Julian is the answer. He could be the guy who could take us to the next level and help Barcelona win Champions League and become more dominant. And if that's the case, obviously, the signing would end up paying for itself, right? Because when you win, you make more money, right? TV rights, merchandising, more sponsors, prize money, et cetera, right? But I don't know. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think about Barcelona preparing 135 million euros fixed plus 15 in variables for Julian Alvarez? Do you think it's too much? Do you think it's the right move? Let me know down below in the comment section. And of course, I do want to end this video with the statements of Atletico Madrid's president, Enrique Cerezo, who was asked today about Julian Alvarez, and he was really, really annoyed. He was frustrated, and he even said Julian's name wrong several times. But this is what Cerezo had to say. Julian Lopez, he's Lopez now, he's not Alvarez, is an Atletico Madrid player. Whoever wants him can come and look at the contract. And if they're interested, they'll sign him. If not, they won't. It seems like this is the story of the summer. You all know exactly how things stand. Julian Lopez, again, is an Atletico Madrid player, and I believe he will remain an Atletico Madrid player. So Cerezo, once again, saying that Julian, he's their player. That he, hopes or thinks that he's going to remain their player. Of course, a lot of people have taken this as nothing more about posturing. That Cerezo is just, he's not, as a president, he's not going to come out and say, yeah, our best player is for sale. He's just, saying that kind of like to save face in public, but behind closed doors, obviously, 150 million euros for a player that has already told them doesn't want to stay there. Why wouldn't they take it? I mean, they signed them for 75 million euros fixed. We're talking about they're going to double what they're going to receive, double of what they invested. So I think this is nothing more about posturing. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. Real Madrid reaching out to UEFA, formally requesting the disciplinary actions against Barcelona, the new signing, Rafinha staying, and then finally the fact that Cerezo is or that Barcelona preparing 135 million euros plus 15 million euros variables for Julian Alvarez. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, be scarce.